Hello, hello. My name is Danae Wolf. I am a financial clarity coach and a profit strategist, which means I help entrepreneurs like you increase your profits and decrease your stress. And I do that by teaching financial literacy in my signature program, Profit Perfect. Profit Perfect is your one stop shop for all things small business accounting. But here's the best part, guys, it's not the type of accounting your CPA studied in school. This is not boring textbook accounting. No, my friend, it is entrepreneurial accounting, which is all about making money, which is exactly why you got into this entrepreneurial game. So in the course, we cover everything from LLC formations, S Corp elections. We break down exactly how taxes work, because if you understand the way they work, you can make smarter decisions so that you can pay less in taxes. I teach you everything you need to know about QuickBooks Online, how to read a profit and loss statement, how to manage your cash flow, and so much more. And every single week, I host a live Zoom so that you can come in and ask any questions you want. So, all of your burning financial questions, you get to chat with me about them each week. Just me and my students. You'll get a calendar invite and you can attend. So if you are ready to take control over the money in your business and stop letting it control you, definitely check out Profit Perfect. It is linked below. Now, today we are going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart. We are going to be talking about women in business, and we're going to dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because let's face it, okay? It is just different being a woman in business. Our journey, our experience is different than our male counterparts. And I think it's an important conversation to have, and I think it needs to be had more. Now, if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, I'd love for you to share in the comments anything that resonates with you today. I think as women, while we are all unique, I think there's a lot of common themes that we experience. And that's why I love connecting with fellow female entrepreneurs, because while we are all unique and beautiful in our own ways, there are so many commonalities between us just because of our experience and journey as a woman. And I think for a long time, there has been this message to little girls, and then we grow up to be women, that you can have it all, that you can do it all. What's that song? Anything you can do, I can do better. We were all raised with this mindset. They shifted from don't marry the doctor, become the doctor. And I'm so thankful for that and for that positivity, and I definitely want to instill that in my daughters as well. But the cold hard truth of what happened is, it was a message to women, and the message continues, that you can have it all, you can do it all. But what many of us found, because I'm going to go on a hunch here and say, if you are a female entrepreneur, what you found is that for years we fought for the right to sit at a table that wasn't built for us. So we wanted to have these opportunities in corporate America that had always been given to males. And we wanted the opportunity to work outside the home and have these amazing careers. And we did it. We shattered that glass ceiling. The statistics are astounding, guys. It literally shows that females dominate in college. We get better test scores there. I think I'm going to butcher the stats here, so please don't quote me, but it's something like the graduating year and seniors in college, 60% of the people who graduate are females. But then what happens, so we're graduating from college, there's more of us going to college and we're scoring better and doing better. But then when we get to corporate America, we see it shift. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that women are capable, right? Which I think we all knew. We just had to convince the world. And we're dominating in college, but then when we're getting to corporate America, we're falling off. Why are we falling off? Well, it's because it wasn't built for us, right? The reality is, I'm not at all discounting fathers, because they're wonderful, and every child needs a father and a mother. But we should all just really focus on our strengths, right? So keeping it fair and just looking at it, and I'm being extremely stereotypical here, so please don't get offended. But for the most part, let's just look at your typical family. The dad is probably going to notice that there's something wrong with the rain gutter and you have to like call somebody to come clean it, right? Mom's not going to notice that. But mom is going to notice, hey, our son needs new shoes. His shoes are too tight, right? He's growing out of shoes. He needs a whole new wardrobe because summer's coming and his clothes from last year don't fit, right? So we all have different strengths, right? But the reality is, most women, being stereotypical, most of us, right? We are doing a different weight load than our male counterparts are at home. So my husband is an incredible father. He is extremely involved. But when it comes to planning our children's birthday parties, I can tell you I'm the one meticulously going over every detail. I'm picking the colors for the cake. I'm picturing, sending out the invitations, managing the RSVP list, ordering the food, right? There's a very different set of responsibilities that us as females have. When a child is sick at school and has to be picked up, 99% of the time they're calling mom, they're not calling dad, right? And it is just the difference with the maternal and the paternal. And I'm not saying, one is better than the other. Absolutely not. I'm not in any way putting down men. I have two sons, I love men. But it's different, right? Our experiences and journeys as parents are different. So when we try to be in corporate America, for many of us, it's hard. I have a best friend who has a very demanding job and she struggles, but her husband also has a very demanding job and he's not feeling the same struggle, right? He's not having the conversations with his children where they're saying, hey, we are upset when we come home from school and you're not home, because it is a societal norm, right? That the dad goes to work and the mom is expected to be more present. So our experience is very different. And I'm sure you've all seen it. Your kid falls, they scrape their knee, they run to mom, right? I mean, a lot of times they'll run to dad. Sometimes my kids will run to dad, but for the most part, they're going to mom. I always remember my son got stitches and my husband and I were both in the room and he had been kind of going, mom, dad, like back and forth with who he wanted. And the second they actually put the first stitch in, when he screamed that blood curdling scream, he screamed mommy. It is what it is. It just is what it is, right? So it creates this different experience for us as females. And when we get into corporate America, it's tough. And what happens is, it's shown statistically, women are exiting the workforce, right? Now, some of us are coming home and just being stay-at-home moms, but a lot of us are getting into the entrepreneurial game. Because remember, we are being raised and we've got this mentality that we can have it all. We can do it all. But what we find is, if we try to do it all the way the world is kind of laid out, which is that typical climb the corporate ladder, we're not going to be happy. We're not going to be fulfilled. Now, listen, if you are a woman and you're like, I work 60-hour weeks in corporate America, I'm climbing that corporate ladder in heels and I am living my best life, great. Then I'm not speaking to you, right? This is not intended for you. If you are living your best life, whatever that looks like, you keep doing it. But I know that most women are having a really hard time managing that corporate lifestyle with motherhood and being a wife and a friend and a daughter and a sister and all the different hats that we wear. It's difficult. I mean, guys, even just think about it from the perspective of friendships, right? When we're talking about the different journeys that men and women go on, my husband, his best friends in the world, they text. They're not on the phone like on a regular basis catching up on each other's lives. They'll text every now and again. And then when we get together with them, they catch up. Me and my girlfriends, if I don't talk to you, if I don't hear from you for a couple days, I'm like, oh my God, what happened to you? Right? Our work to maintain our friendships and relationships is also very different, right? So that's another almost a time constraint on us, right? That's another demand, another responsibility. It is more work for us to upkeep even just our relationships than what our male counterparts experience, right? So we know we've got this different journey. So a lot of us are exiting corporate America, and now we are getting into entrepreneurial game, right? Entrepreneurship. And what I've found is sometimes, right, we leave corporate America because it's too demanding and we can't manage our home life and we don't have that balance, right? Everybody's looking for this balance, this mythical idea of having balance. And we get into our own business and we're working more than we even were when we were in corporate America, right? And this goes back to something that I talk about a lot. You have to make sure that you have systems and processes in place, and you really have to make sure that you are designing a business that can support the life you desire. But I think that you have to really start with being honest about the situation and the different challenges that us as women have, right? So on the one hand, we leave corporate America because it's not working for us. So then we say, great, we're going to start a business. We're going to be entrepreneurs. And that's wonderful that we can do it. And we are all striving to be available to our children, to be there, to be the moms we've always dreamed that we could be. But we also don't want to give up our hopes and dreams. I know for me and my personal journey, I remember coming to this crossroads of realizing I was not going to be able to be the mom I wanted to be and work. And I made the decision that I wanted to quit my job. And I remember in the weeks leading up to it, I was just struggling and I was in my own head and I was trying to figure it out. And I remember talking to my husband and just saying, I don't know what to do. I can't work and be the mom I want to be. I can't, my regular corporate job is just not doing it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not present with the kids. I can't do it. And I remember my husband, bless his soul, he thought he was doing the right chivalrous thing. And he said, well, quit your job, like stay home, be with the kids. And I got so upset with him. I always vividly remember this moment. I got so upset with him and I said, you just want me to quit my job? I said, we went to the same college. We have the same degree. Like, why should I not be entitled to have a career and have some type of an identity outside of just being their mom, right? I knew that I wanted more, but I knew corporate wasn't the route to get it. And he didn't understand that I had that. I remember him just saying, listen, I thought, his exact words were, I thought every woman just wanted to hear their husband say, then don't work. He's like, I'm supporting you to stay home. Like, I'm happy to support our family. Quit your job. I thought that's what you wanted to hear. He's like, so you're going to have to guide me here, because he didn't know what I was looking for. And I tried to explain it and articulate it, and he didn't get it. And I think if you're watching this, you probably get it, that we want to be there. We want to be the mom that we can be, but we also know what we can do, what we're made of. And I knew that I wanted to be present in all the moments that my kids need me, all the moments I wanted to be. But that didn't mean that I wanted to just shut off who I am. And the truth is, I was an entrepreneur before I was their mother and before I was his wife. It's who I am. I started as a young age, and I didn't want to lose that aspect of myself. So I started the journey of balancing motherhood, if you could call it balance, with starting my company. And what I realized is I did get into phases of, hey, I am working more now than I was when I had a job, right? Because there is this idea when you have a job that you really could cut it off, right? There's more boundaries than we tend to do in the entrepreneur world in the beginning. Okay. In the beginning, it's tough. And I want you guys to know that's temporary. And if it's not temporary, you need to sit back and look at your inefficiencies in your systems in your business, because those are definitely off. But if you are running a well-oiled machine, right? If you've got systems and structure in your company, you should be giving yourself some type of balance. And I don't even love the word balance, because I don't know that boundaries and balance really exist. Like for me, it looks like, hey, I'm outside having a water balloon fight with my kids, and I get an important email or something that comes in from work, and I've got a boundary that if it's something that's going to be super, taking a lot of my time and I have to leave my kids, I'm not doing it, right? I've got that boundary. I'm not going to walk away from them and go do that. But if something comes in and I'm like, oh, let me throw in one of my little earbuds and have a quick call for work and sort this out, then guess what? I'm in the backyard holding the baby with one hand, listening in on the conversation in the other, and throwing a water balloon to my son with the other. I can multitask, and that for me is what works. But some of you might say, no, I want strict boundaries of I work 9 to 12, and then I'm with my kids 12 to 3, and then I go back 3 to 5, like whatever works for you. But the point here is, as women, we need to be honest and say, what works for me might not work for my husband, might not work for my male counterpart, right? We need to look at what it is that we want in life, the way in which our families are designed. How do we want to be present, right? Think about that. Like, what kind of mother do you want to be? What kind of friend do you want to be? What kind of wife do you want to be? Daughter, sister? Think about all of this and be honest, and then say, how do I design my business to support that? And I think a big thing that we really need to be able to have honest conversations with is the fact that we actually bear the children, right? So think about the process of being pregnant and then giving birth and then having the newborn. And our society is just not built to do that, right? Like, you have corporate America and it's like you work until your water breaks and then you get what, 6 to 8 weeks off, and then you're supposed to be right back in the office. And some privileged women, they're getting more like 12 weeks. But that is still, if that doesn't work for you, right, that's difficult. And what I noticed is once I had started my business and I had quit my job, I had another baby. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to be in complete control of it. I can design it. I can take off as much time or as little time as I want. And I felt really great about being in control. And let me tell you guys what happened. It wasn't a lot of clients, but I had a handful of clients who came to me in the last month of my pregnancy. And the way it was presented was, oh, I really want you to be able to enjoy your time with your baby. So I'm going to go ahead and just stop the services. Like, you don't need to deal with my stuff. Go enjoy your maternity leave. And I said, okay, that's how they're presenting it. That's the words coming out of their mouth. But the meaning behind them is they didn't trust me to be able to balance having a new baby and getting their work done. They didn't have enough confidence in me to be able to do that. And it was a slight number of people. It was a handful of people. But I remember thinking, wow, even with my name on the door, so to speak, right? The figurative door. Obviously, I don't actually have a building with my name on the door, but even though I own the joint and I'm in control and making sure, and I've meticulously planned to make sure everything goes well through maternity leave, I was still up against it. And it reminded me of when I had my first son. Prior to having him, was a workaholic. I mean, in corporate America, not my own business, I was working a lot, like 6-7 days a week, always on call, had to have my ringer on at all times. And I went out on maternity leave with my first son. He was about 6 weeks old. And I got a call from my boss that said, hey, when you come back in a couple weeks, we are going to bring you back part-time. And I was like, wow, completely blindsided. And I thought, they don't think that I can perform the way that I did before because I'm now a mom. And it was a really tough pill to swallow. In hindsight, best thing that ever happened to me because, I went full force into entrepreneurship. But in the moment, I was like, I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this company, and they're just cutting me back to part-time. And the reason is totally because they're like, well, she's not going to be able to put in those hours anymore. And you know what? I wasn't able to. It's just the reality. I think that, and I'm not trying to be controversial or offend anyone, but I think the reality is I had my child and my husband was home for like a week. He also had his first baby, but guess what? He went back to work and didn't skip a beat. Nothing changed for him. He was working the same amount. But for me, it was impossible. It was impossible. There was no way that I was going to be able to go back to work and be on demand the way that I had been prior to bringing that baby into the world. So it's a completely different experience. And it was just ironic for me to experience that in corporate America, that they cut me down. They cut my time down because obviously this isn't what was said, but it was very clear. It was because they knew she's going to come back and she's not going to be like she was. She's not going to be on call all the time. She's going to have boundaries. And then I break off into my entrepreneurial game and start my business and have a baby, and boom, I have clients drop me. And I think there needs to be more conversation about this and about how we're just not set up to support mothers, right? And this is why so many women just bow out, right? They're exiting the workforce, they're not starting businesses, they're staying home. But, listen, if you are happy and you've exited the workspace and you're home and you're with your kids and you are in your happy place, go for it. But I'm going to be very brutally honest here. The women I encounter are not. There is something lacking. They are missing using their brains in some type of a creative way outside of, coloring or painting with their children. There is something missing. And I think we need to talk more and have safe spaces as women to just say, we don't know what the right solution is, what the right balance is, what it all looks like. But maybe if we could all just have more conversations like this. And, maybe if you're an employer, you don't need to assume that the woman can't do it, because I'll tell you what, now that I have my systems and processes in place, I can do stuff that used to take me 10 hours in 5 hours. I am the most efficient worker on the planet because I learned how to do it. So I can give the same exact end result in less time. And I've spoken to women who have gone to their employers and said, listen, I would like to have the same workload, but I don't want to be, pigeonholed into the 9 to 5. If I can be able to leave at this time to pick my daughter up and then I'll sign on when she goes back to work. And it's not, they just say no, right? The employer says no because they want us to be, like I said in the beginning, we fought to sit at a table that wasn't built for us. And I see it happen in entrepreneurship as well. And I think us as women, we need to be honest that there's a million different things going on in our brains. We are better at multitasking, so we can always think about various things. I can tell you right now, even as I am recording this, I am literally in the back of my head thinking about all the things I have to do coming up for my son's upcoming birthday party, right? And I'm actually thinking, did I get the right color balloons? Literally, that is a thought that is going on in my head right now. I can tell you right now, my husband is working. Zero chance anything like that is going on in the back of his mind, right? He's not concerned with anything other than what is in front of him. And I think it is a gift and a curse for us as women, right? That our brains are able to have such capacity to do so many different things. But I think it needs to be spoken about more that we can do great things, right? We are powerful. There's so much. I think we have barely hit the tip of the iceberg with what female entrepreneurs can do. But I think we have to have more conversations of the way we get there, the way we get to the end result isn't going to look like the way the men do it. It isn't. We're going to have to do it differently. And I think so often we are just trying to fit, what is it? The square peg in the round hole. We're trying to do that. We're trying to fit into how the way society says it. And, there's all this talk about boundaries and, okay, I'm just going to work 9 to 12 and then I'll do this and then I'll sign off. Let me tell you something. Me and my team, we're all moms. We always try to say, okay, well, we're going to sign off at this time and do this. No, there's no boundary, guys. It's blending. Okay. We are just trying to make it all work. And that's how you end up outside with your kids on a water balloon fight, taking a quick work call. Now, I'm not saying that you're literally trying to work and build an empire and throw water balloons at the same time. No, you obviously have to be structured enough and have times where you're working when you're not with your kids. But this idea that we need to be so rigid. No, it doesn't look like that. Sometimes I pick my kids up from school and a work call comes in. And if it's not something that requires me to be in front of my computer and like completely zoned in, like I can take that call and speak to them for a couple of minutes. My kids are going to be fine. In fact, I want my kids to see that. I think so many times as women, we have this idea that, oh my gosh, our kids need us to be on them 100% of the time, like white on rice. No, let them see the boss bitch you are. My kids think it is the coolest thing in the world that they can go on YouTube and search mommy. They think it's so cool that I have a podcast. They love it. One of my sons tells me he's going to grow up and he's going to be a podcast host. That's what he wants to do. They appreciate it. And why? Because I'm not hidden off in a corner doing it, sneaking it from them that they work. I'm proud of it. I want them to see it. And they've been there when I'm taking a client call because it's okay to blend it. And you know what? If you've got a client who is pissed off that they hear a kid in the background, the problem isn't you, it's them. You've just got the wrong client. When I am meeting with a prospect, one of the first things I let them know is I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. You're probably going to hear children in the background at some point on one of our calls. I may or may not at one point or another have to cancel a call because I've got a kid I've got to pick up from school who got sick. Whereas most, being stereotypical here, most men aren't going to have that conversation. They're going to introduce themselves and say, hey, I've been building this business for 10 years. You're not going to know how many kids they have. And that's okay. Our journeys are different. And I think it needs to be talked about more and it needs to be embraced. And I think this idea of having these strict boundaries is going to make all of us crazy. We don't need anything to be that rigid because what are we all learning as moms, right? If you make a plan, like God's going to laugh at it, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. We have to learn to go with the punches. And I have really tried it in both ways. And for me, I find it's a healthy mix. I have dedicated times when I film, I have dedicated times when I record. I have boundaries around those. My Calendly link is only open during certain times. But outside of the dedicated things I have to be done when I know I have childcare, I am really trying to just have ease. That was my word for 2022. I just want ease in my life. And if that means my kids are running around and a client has a quick question, I'm going to answer it on the spot and just nip it in the bud and take care of it rather than it just sitting there and piling up. Right. And I think that was a lot of mental noise for me to be like, oh, well, what are my kids going to think if I am playing water balloons and all of a sudden I say, hold on, mommy has to make a work call. Well, they're going to think, wow, look at mommy doing it all, right? My kids think it's cool. They think it's awesome that I have a company. My oldest always says, I think it's so cool you're your own boss, right? So let's show them that, right? And especially if you have daughters, like I want my daughter to know, yes, you can do it all. You can climb the corporate ladder, but I'm going to say to her, here is what it's going to eventually look like. And these are the things you have to choose because my friends and girlfriends who have climbed that corporate ladder and are wildly successful professionally, they are struggling at home and they're really finding it difficult to balance it all. And now they built these big careers, right? So what happens? They're making good money. So they want to quit because it's not working for their life at home, but then the whole rug's going to get ripped out from under them because it's hard to make that much money, right? So we kind of got ourselves in this situation where we've got this generation of wildly ambitious females and we do it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want us to climb that corporate ladder in heels, by the way, right? At least men get the comfy shoes. We don't, right? So we climb it in our heels. I don't want you to get up to the top and be like, why did I do that? I'm up here and I'm miserable. And I think there's too many women who are getting to the top and they're miserable. And that can happen in corporate America and it can also happen in your own business. And I've had quite a few times where I'm like, okay, I'm in a busy season. This is temporary. That's fine. But when I get to the point when I go, I can't say this is a busy season anymore. This is what it is. Something has to change because I'm not going to allow myself to get to the point where I feel like, okay, I can't just do it all. I'm going to have to, close my business down because it's impeding on my personal life. I can't be the mom and wife I want to be. I'm not going to allow that to happen. Instead, I'm going to get in and figure it out and say, how do I make this work? And for me, one of the greatest things I did was just this idea of forget the boundaries. I'm going to blend. I'm going to blend. And it's okay if I'm at the park with my kids and I had to send a couple of emails. It is okay, because guess what, you beautiful working entrepreneurial mamas? If you have guilt because you are at the park and you had to take a quick work call or you had to do a quick email, let me tell you something. The mommies who don't work, which I love you mommies too, but let me tell you something. They're on their phones too. They're just on Pinterest. Okay. So let's just be serious for a second. All right. Everybody has other things going on and other distractions. For me, I really like to say if I'm going to take time away from my kids, it's got to be something that I am passionate about, that lights me up, and that I'm profitable and bringing in money. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching women financial literacy, because I think if we take our time away from our kids and we're trying to build these businesses, it better be worth it, right? The last thing we want is for you to be exhausted trying to do all the things and raise your kids and build your company. And then you're like, I'm working all this and I'm not even making money, right? So we want to be able to do it all, to have it all, right? But it needs to be on our terms. And I think you have to really just feel empowered to say, I am going to design, okay? You need to design your company to support the life you desire. And I think what's missing so often is just that intentionality. When I speak with fellow moms and I'm talking about just my regular day to day, and they're like, oh, that sounds like way better than my day to day. Like, and when I say day to day, I'm talking about, okay, what time do you wake up? What's your routine? What's your schedule? Like, what are you doing? And a lot of times I say, oh, that sounds great. Like, my day is this, that. And I will literally say, listen, that's not how it started. Okay. I'm 3 kids deep. I had to be intentional. I designed this. I am living a life that I designed. And you know what? Sometimes it starts to fall off the wagon and I got to go back in and redesign and fix it. But I'm intentional about it because I am empowered to know that I'm in charge of it. And that's what I want for each of you. So I hope this sparked some motivation. I hope that you are one of the lucky few who says, you know what, I have great balance. I feel like very fulfilled and happy. And if you're not, if this struck a nerve and you're like, I'm trying to do all the things, I'm run down, I'm exhausted, and it's not temporary, right? Because if I'm going into a launch, if I'm going through Profit Perfect and I'm launching, guys, I'm exhausted, I'm run down, I'm doing all the things. It's too much. But I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel because it's temporary. But if my day to day was how I feel when I'm in a launch, I wouldn't be happy. So I want to know, how's your day to day? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? And if you're not, let this serve as your message that you can be. You can be. The ball is in your court, and there has never been a better time than to call your shot and really just go for it. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know any type of experience you've had as an entrepreneur that you feel like this wouldn't have happened to a man, right? Because our stories are unique and we need to talk about them more. I'll see you.